Dr. Rick Rock, the founder of Real Fridays, along with Brock Cassidy and Jeremy Potter. In this segment for Real Fridays, we interview and work with lenders and vendors who are truly innovating and making a real difference in the mortgage industry today. And there's a lot going on in the mortgage industry today. And today, I have Loyola.ai. The two founders, Kent and Ray, and the founders of Loyola, I've been able to just sort of work with them most recently just to get to know them a bit better. And I'm really happy to have you on the show. Welcome aboard, guys.
Yeah, hi, Rick. I'm Kent. Thanks for having me on, and it's great to be here. I'm co-founder and CEO from Loyola AI. This is my co-founder, Ray.
Yeah, thank you, Rick.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. No, Loyola AI. Let me ask you a question. Like, where did Loyola even come from? Like, why Loyola? Is it like how did you choose Loyola? Before we get into your product, I want to understand the name.
Yeah, that's a great question. So Loyola is the name of the city. That's a place where I and Ray worked together to start this company.
Oh, really? And where, in what city and what state?
Because I and Ray are all based at the Bay Area, San Francisco. It's a city at a little bit south part of the Bay Area called Los Altos. One of the county name is the Loyola.
Oh, got it. That makes sense. It's just sort of a county name. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I mean, obviously, I spent quite a bit of time in Mountain View in the Bay Area, and my very first bank checking account was the Technology Federal Credit Union right there in Santa Clara, California. But I had some great times both in the Bay Area and over at Berkeley doing my research at the time. It was great. So tell us a little bit about your journey. So Kent, you went to Yale, right? And Ray, you got your PhD at the University of Illinois, if I remember correctly. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And which one of you worked for Google?
I worked for Google, yeah. So I was in Google Brain at that time.
And so as you guys were coming up through tech, how did you determine that you guys wanted to start this company, and two, why did you guys choose the mortgage business at all? Like, why it's a very complex sort of industry. Why even choose mortgage?
Well, before mortgage, we already building AI agents across multiple industries, combining reasoning, document understanding, tool usage, and automate different tasks and works. And that was traditional manually. And when we started working with design partner in mortgage, it became very clear that this is a very perfect fit. Loan origination is still highly manual, like teams review documents, rekeying data into LOS, run the same calculations, check long lists, and repeat QC over and over. So it's a very slow process, very easy to make human errors, and it's very hard to scale. I always heard people saying about when the volume picks up, when the volume spikes, you are rushing to hire more people, and when it slows, you are overstaffed. So most of the solutions today we found in the market is one narrow task is a point of solutions. We see a much bigger opportunity that AI can automate the majority of customer workflows in mortgage, and eventually beyond reducing manual work potentially up to 80%. So that's why we built a platform, no-code platform that lets operation people to leverage AI directly.
No, I love that. There's no question. What was one of the biggest surprises in doing your research in mortgage? Was it more complex than you suspected? Was it less complex, or was it just pretty much as you suspected?
Yeah, when we, as a non-practitioners, when we stood out we immediately found most of the mortgage operations, their expertise runs in humans' mind, and how little of that expertise is already reflected in the software. So, which means processors and underwriters, they know exactly what they are doing. They know what to look for, how to calculate things, what feels off. But what needs a second look, but the system they use don't really support that thinking. They are constantly jumping between documents, LOS, spreadsheets, and checklists. So the opportunity wasn't to replace people, it was to capture the expertise and make it executable in software.
So I want to add one thing is, in some sense, like mortgage has its unique feature, making it easy in the sense there's like a Fannie and Freddie doing leading the guidelines. So across like large and small organizations, underwriting a loan means a very similar process, and that's rarely seen in other industries.
Got it. So what would you say to be the main starting point with Loyola? What would you say to be the kind of the lowest hanging fruit? So describe what Loyola is, like what your initial product launch has been. And you guys started this about a year ago, from what I remember. What was your point of entry within the mortgage process? There's companies who focus on the POS, the CRM, the loan origination system. There's accounting software systems. There's hedging systems. There's product and pricing engines. Like where did you start in that flow? And tell me what your product does.
Yeah, so we are now like replacing the old POS and LOS. We are on top of that. Our product is a no-code workflow builders that empower your operation people can build AI customized workflows by themselves, and it's completely no-code. And
so you say no code, like no code workflow builder. So it's basically like you don't need any coding experience. You don't need any engineers on staff. It's basically like what, a toolkit or some kind of a software that you deploy that acts as like an overlay to your loan origination system. Like describe that. What does the no code software mean?
You can think about like building Lego blocks. So the basic features and functionality on our platform are creating nodes and connecting nodes together. We use the results from the previous nodes to perform future tasks, and we connect nodes together to build a larger, complicated AI workflows. So we started by focusing on workflows instead of features. Instead of saying, let's solve income, let's solve documents, we ask, like, what are the exact steps operation people are doing right now, like every single day? Reviewing documents, extract data, run calculations, validate against guidelines, cross-check fields. And so we built no-code AI workflow engine that lets operation people define those steps once, and then we can have AI run them consistently across every loans.
That's really fascinating. And so when a lender starts to work with you, so the actual target focus within the workflow itself is at what point of the process?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
No, like at what point of the process again do you just reiterate that? Like what point of the process again do you focus on within the mortgage workflow?
Yeah, we focus on processing, underwriting, and closing.
Okay. And so you create this workflow schema, if you will, a series of workflow steps that you want to do what? You want to tie together? You want to compare data, compare documents? What is it that you want to do? What was the thought process around it?
So the way to think about it is we are kind of like mimicking how human does their work. We are overlay on top of the LOS and your other systems, including email, messaging, and so on. So as a human approach this problem, they will say, I want to read some documents and fill some form. That's how our system approaches it. We don't have, as a workflow builder, we don't have a deterministic way of doing things, but we connect various tools to follow the human steps to accomplish existing tasks.
No, I love that. So you basically just take what a processor would normally do, what an underwriter normally does in flipping through the application, looking at different data elements within that manually. Ultimately, if you're having to look for something manually within the file, what you're trying to do is tether or string together those and sort of autonomize those steps all within a automatic workflow. Fair?
Yes. Yeah.
And also it's built for non-technical users, operation people. And so they can define workflows on our platform using natural language and logic they already understand. So there's no code, no IT tickets, no waiting weeks for changes. So you can make changes and put into production in days.
No, I love that. So it sounds if it's like you said, a no code workflow builder, if you will. In essence, it's a little bit odd because obviously, if we buy a CRM for the company, it's effectively a no code CRM, right? You just buy the CRM and you deploy it. So this really is a no code necessary AI solution that's custom to a mortgage company, where you could deploy an AI workflow builder that's custom and specific to that particular entity or organization without having to develop or build it yourself because it's already built for you. You're just customizing it to your organization. Fair?
Yeah, it makes it very scalable inside the lender.
I think we are focused on the hyper customization side. You mentioned CRM. That's actually a very good example. That's more like on the SaaS end, where you have a predefined software and everyone uses similar stuff. For us, we are focused on the customization side, where you can tailor things to your workflow. To give you an example, like lender C, for example, like during the underwriting process, you always need a checklist. You need to check many things during the to approve a loan. But like this checklist might be slightly different for every like a program or for every lender and based on their process. But it's very hard to pre-build a solution to create for all the lenders. So we allow them to tailor to their needs.
No, I love it, and now your website makes a lot more sense as far as these custom workflows. Because the one thing that's challenging for any processor or underwriter when you go to an organization that uses Encompass or Calyx or Byte or any of these solutions, Blue Sage or whatever, even though you're using the same tool or technology that you've used before, everyone uses those platforms differently, right? And so this is where the custom workflow, sort of the customization of workflows can be done while leveraging AI. And it looks to me that you're able to sort of take all these disparate elements of income and assets and appraisals, title fees, closing fees, all these disparate data points, and it looks like you're sort of tethering it all together into sort of an AI medium or an AI workflow. Fair?
Yeah, fair. And instead of like solving very specific pieces of the problem, like or providing a one-point solutions, so we provide tools that focus on things like orchestrating the logic, validation, calculation, and decisions the way that your best underwriters, processors, closers would do, and consistently do that at scale.
Yeah, I know. Probably the one thing that stands out to me the most, especially when I get on your website, is this piece right here. Is automation reduces reliance on manual staff hours, lowering processing costs by $100 to $300 per loan, while improving accuracy. I would also even maybe reference not just processing costs, but maybe underwriting related costs as well, because even like a $300 savings, on your average unit, on your average closed loan is going to be about 8 basis points, 8 to 10 basis points. And that's just potentially in processing. In some ways, I think that if you're able to not just save money, the way mortgage companies save money is either by truly decreasing the cost of doing something or by increasing your throughput so you can close more loans on a cost per closed loan basis. If you fix your overhead, your cost per closed loan goes down because you're able to do more volume, right? So you're processing. So instead of doing 50 loans a month in processing or 40 loans a month in processing, you do 60 or 70 as a result of increasing the velocity of their workflow or the steps, right? And so if you're able to pick up anywhere from 8, 10, 15, 20 basis points, potentially even more, in in efficiency, that's a big deal. And that's a really big claim, where did you get the this $100 to $300 per loan? Is that basically from lenders that you're currently working with today?
Yeah, so that we'll talk about how we charge and our pricing structure. So we are purely usage based. Pricing is per loan per workflow, and it scales with the complexity of the workflow. It's not based on seats or license or long-term contracts. For example, a more complex workflow like self-employed income calculation might cost around $5 per loan to calculate income or income. Simpler workflow costs less. Some are just $1 or $2 per loan. So you only pay when the workflow actually runs on a loan. So that way pricing stays directly to a value.
No, I love that. Was there a setup fee?
Yeah. So if you are orchestrating the workflows by yourself, there's no setup fee, and we can also help you to set up the workflow. So we'll have a charge of very little development fee for that.
Yeah, this is great. No, I mean, look, it's no secret. I mean, part of the reason why, obviously, you're on the show is because I've become a big fan pretty quick, in large part because of my. In our conversations, I see the real value and the real need, right? There's a tremendous need right now to help improve quality of every file, right? And to increase speed. And oftentimes those are two attributes that are at odds with each other. If you go faster, you make mistakes, right? And if you make mistakes, it slows down your speed, increases your costs, increases your errors and omissions rates on applications. And
lots of the time we heard from the operation people, like they said, when they open the file, they found that things already done for them. And one of the biggest efficiencies and values we are seeing is the capacity. Like people tell us they can effectively handle close to about double the volume compared with what previously they are doing. And another one is much fewer human errors that can cause closing delays, like some simple mistakes, for example, wrong address on a 4065C, easily delay a closing by days. And also the QCs, we found lots of teams, they are constrained on labor. So many times full QC doesn't always happen. So when something slips through, the lender ends up eating the cost later. So AI takes care of the work. People just don't have the capacity to do it at scale. So problems get caught early, and instead of turning into a real cost later.
Yeah. So you said something, and you just sort of glossed over what you said, right? You said that in some of the feedback that you got from one of the lenders is that processors or the operations staff in some cases were able to double the amount of work that they were able to accomplish within a specific kind of month or some period of time. That's incredible. I mean, that's really, 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 that's the kind of advancement and the kind of improvement we're as users of AI. It's what we want to see from AI, right? And this business is full of technology solutions that tends to market themselves as lowering costs and increasing efficiency, and it does the opposite. It always increases our wallet share, the vendor's wallet share in our pockets, and it also ends up, increasing complexity, which it might introduce some efficiency, but it introduces enough complexity where it almost creates a wash, between the two. So for you to be able to experience that and to yield that for mortgage companies is pretty incredible. And I would say that if I were you, I'd be marketing. That would be the thing I'd have on my website. To be honest, not only are we going to, decrease your costs by 10, 15, 20 basis points, whatever it is, which I think that's pretty accurate. But if you can double your output, I promise you that 10 to 15 or 20 basis points is going to be probably more like 30 or 35 basis points. It's going to be tremendous. And that's big news. I mean, that's massive news to operators like myself, who I'm in meetings all the time trying to figure out how can we decrease the cost per closed loan.
Actually, the complexity part is actually a good point. So in terms of our software, we kind of like trying to be invisible to the daily users. You build the workflow, but for normal users, it just automatically does the same does a job like behind the scene. And when you open the loan, like a lot of things have already been done. You don't need to jump into a third-party software. There's almost no learning curves.
Well, and speaking of learning curve, did you mention, and maybe you mentioned this, Kent, and I apologize, how long does it take to implement your solution? Obviously, setup fees and stuff are fairly negligible because it's on a cost per use kind of basis. But like, how long does it take to implement a solution like this?
So it doesn't take like months or weeks. Most teams are live in days, like building no-code AI automations on our platform and put into productions. The reason is that we are not asking to rebuild anything like rip out the existing system or like using another system. So we sit on top of the LOS or automate the work you are already doing. So we really start with a very simple number of like high impact workflows, the ones that everyone already agrees on paying for and very repetitive. So once those starting workflows live, teams sees value very quickly, and then we can naturally expand from there. So no massive like IT or engineering projects, no long training cycles. There's no big disruptions to how your team already works. So which means like you're only using our workflow builders while you are building the workflows. But during the everyday process, everyday work, like processing loans, underwriting loans, you just need to trigger a button and to trigger all the AI workflows behind the scene. So you are not opening another software while you are dealing with the loans. You just trigger a button. So you are only using our workflow builders while you are orchestrating different workflows.
Well, I mean, I love it. I mean, I think that I think it's the real potential, and I think what you guys are delivering on, you know, quite honestly, is really on the promise of the impact of what AI could really have on the mortgage operation. There's been a lot of solutions that we've rolled out that have either there's been a resistance to adoption. It's taking time to change the behavior of the users, operators, to yield the net intended benefit of the software. And ultimately, as humans and mortgage professionals, we end up defaulting to what we always know. And you know, there's only been a couple of innovations in the 25 years I've been in the business that have really caught on. Is really as fast as AI is seemingly catching on. And that is, gosh, it's crazy. I mean, it goes back to like, I remember when Windows, I mean, this was early. I was in college when we went from literally DOS to Windows, like Windows 95. Like that was my senior year in college. So we actually, the loan origination systems went from DOS prompts to Windows. So that was a big innovation that everyone sort of adopted right away. Right. And then of course the internet sort of progressively grew in popularity for the purposes of email communications. But even when it comes to sending documents like loan packages, we still faxed loan packages up until like the early mid 2000s, like 2009, 10. Like we were faxing full packages and or FedExing full packages. So internet had by that point in time had been around for 10 years, 15 years from 2005. I mean, from a mass media standpoint, from 2005 to 1995 to 2010, it's 15 years. And when it came to, we could have just spooled a loan package up in a PDF and emailed it, but we chose not to. We chose to FedEx it, right? And part of that was maybe it was bandwidth. You know, the technology infrastructure of the internet was continuing to evolve, right? Pushing everything. At the time, we didn't call it the cloud. We call it the managed servicing providers and ASPs, application service provider, where we'd put an application in Citrix and we distribute it, on a single server.
Was not very popular yet. So I think it more took off like after 2010-ish.
That's right. So So I think that so this industry is pretty famous for being laggards when it comes to technology adoption. AI has really broken every sound barrier that we've had in the past when it came to technology adoption. A year ago, I spoke at the first Housing Wire AI conference a year. Okay, and quite frankly, you know, introducing ChatGPT and even LLMs was kind of like a really, really new thing. Less than a year later, everyone is leveraging it, and every major player has really deployed an LLM to be able to look up guidelines, findings, products, product matches, that kind of thing, right? So we're really on pace. They say AI is innovating and doubling its capacity in its computation power every 3 months. And we're not too far. We're not in that sense of innovation. We're not too far behind that. We're maybe we're at maybe 6 or 9 months as an industry, which is moving lightning fast from the standpoint of what we're used to in the mortgage business.
I wouldn't say like mortgage industry is lagging. So we have already seen many industries like definitely engineering, sales, and marketing, also property management, and so several, and also insurance. We have looked at a couple of industries, have experience with that. And mortgage, I do feel people have a kind of a welcoming AI and have been very willing to try this out. Definitely, that's a good thing, like what we are seeing.
Yeah, that's great. No, I agree with you. I think a lot of other industries are being very quick to adopt to this because I think it is an adapt or die kind of scenario.
Yeah, I can see like many lenders, they told us they put guidelines into ChatGPT and ask questions and to be a support for LOs. And also some teams, they gave their operation people prize if they are using ChatGPT every day. And we can see like people are using different ways to push their team to get used to AI as quick as possible. And also we think like Guideline GPT like provides some value, but we don't think that's the best way to use AI because AI can consistently do perfect, like 100% correctly on small things, but guidelines is a big thing. It's easy for LLM to make mistakes. So our logic is at one step, one node, we only let LLM, like AI, to do one simple things that it can do perfectly, like 100%. And we use that result to perform future tasks. So it will do another task based on the previous results and do another task which are also 100% accurate. And by connecting those results together, so we can form a larger workflows automations.
No, I think this is great. I think that and how many pilots or companies are you kind of working with today?
We have a few pilot lenders, and by volume, one of them is ranked top 50 as an MB, and we are already saving them 400 hours per month, and their whole company, their whole team are using our AI to process loans every day.
So how much time are you saving them monthly?
Like 400 hours.
400 hours. That's incredible. I mean, if you literally broke that down on an average employee wage, that's really incredible. Look, I think you guys are great, and I genuinely think for anyone who's using really any of the loan origination systems, Blue Sage or Encompass or Calyx or whatever the case may be, or Byte, I think you guys could potentially be a necessary tool that is going to enable just more efficient use of what it is they're currently using today, where they don't have to make a switch. They can leverage these innovations without necessarily switching their loan origination system. So that's incredibly powerful, and kudos to both of you. So look, I appreciate your time today on the show. I think this is going to be fire in the business. And I genuinely believe that the message you guys need to communicate is the amount of time you're saving writers and processors, the improvement on efficiency, and the higher quality and the decrease in costs. I think those and the amount of time saved. That number, that 400 hours is an incredible metric, and I would emphasize that to any lender that you guys talk to. So I really appreciate you guys spending this time. This is fantastic.
Yeah, thank you for having us today, and it's great talking to you.
No, man, Ray, it's good to talk to you. We're going to end with you as the feature, Ray. So I love this. Usually Kent seems to always take all the glamour. He's the front and center sales guy, even though he's an engineer. So I think we're going to end this with you, Ray. I love it. I appreciate you, and I'm excited to see where you guys go with this.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, take care, guys.